Hey guys, so today we're checking out the Steinjager crossover steering kit fitting all 1997 to 2006 TJ Wranglers with 0 to 4 inches of lift. So if you have large wheels and tires or even a lift on your Wrangler and you're looking for steering that is going to be more reliable as well as a lot more heavy duty than the factory setup, this is going to be a great choice to take a look at. So this is going to independently run your drag link and your tie rod separately in comparison to our factory setup that did have a Y-link construction. Now that's going to improve your handling and improve the reliability of your steering, perfect for somebody who wants a little bit more out of their steering than just the average setup. Now this is also going to be a lot more durable, perfect for that off-roader who wants something that's going to hold up on the trail. This is going to be made of a large DOM steel tubing. It's going to have chromoly ends, and you're even getting Heim joint ends, which is going to increase your range of motion. Perfect for you guys who just want that much more articulation while you are out on the trail. Not to mention, this is also going to add a pop of color underneath your Wrangler with that red powder coat, and that's going to be great for anybody who wants to match an existing color scheme or is just looking for their Jeep to stand out. Now with all of that being said, this is going to be really affordable for what this brings to the table at roughly $250. Now when we take a look at some other options on the page, a lot of those choices are going to stick with that Y-link construction, and they are usually going to be a bit more heavy duty than stock, but in my personal opinion, I think that this really hits a nail on the head when it comes to a heavy duty construction. There are also going to be a couple other options on the page that do run the tie rod and the drag link separately. However, some of those are going to be for a high steer kit. Now, in my personal opinion, I think if you don't necessarily need something that's high steer, considering that this goes from 0 to 4 inches of lift, and you don't want that Y linkage, then this is going to be something that's going to give you a lot of durability, reliability, and strength out of a steering kit. So this is going to be a great choice. Now, I would like to mention that this will delete your steering stabilizer, and you don't necessarily have to run one with this kit, but if you would like to swap over your steering stabilizer or just mount up a new one to this kit, Steinjager does offer a bracket that is very affordable. Now the other thing is that if you have over 4 inches of lift, you can run this setup. However, you will need a drop pivot arm in order to do so. As far as install goes, this is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter because there is a decent amount of drilling required. We will have to drill out both of the knuckles as well as the pivot arm, so just be aware of that. And you also will need an alignment after it's all said and done. However, speaking of that install, let's jump into that now. The tools that I used for my install were a torque wrench, a pry bar, a drill, a 5/8 inch drill bit, a hammer, an adjustable wrench, a 19mm wrench, 1/2 inch drive ratchet, a pair of needle nose pliers, a 24 and 19mm deep socket, 24 and 19mm shallow socket, anti-seize, as well as an impact wrench. So our first couple of steps are going to involve getting our Jeep up in the air, getting the front elevated so we can work on our steering, and taking off our front 2 wheels. Now, if you don't have the liberty of a lift and you are working on a jack and jack stands, what you want to do is jack up the front end and chock the rear wheels and take off those 2 front wheels. Next step is going to be to remove our cotter pins. We're going to do it for either side of our knuckle as well as the ball joint connected to our pitman arm. So our next step is going to be to remove the top castle nut on our pitman arm. It may be a little bit easier to use a breaker bar for this because we can't fit the impact in there, but just to get it crack free, breaker bar will do the job. It is going to be a tight fit, and the steering linkage will move when you do this, so just be mindful of that. Right. Now that it's cracked free, we can grab a ratchet and remove that nut. All right. So now that that is most of the way out, what we can do is do the same thing that we did with the knuckle and shock the ball joint out. You do want to be careful when you do this though, because you don't want to actually mess up your steering box. Might be helpful to use a pry bar when doing this, just to pull down on the drag link. There it goes. So our next step is to disconnect our steering stabilizer from our axle bracket here. I'm gonna be using a 15mm socket for the actual bolt, but a 19mm wrench for the nut on the other side. And then when we disconnect the rest of our steering, this should come out with it. So now since everything's loose, we can start to disconnect everything. So I'm just gonna take a 19mm wrench, fully remove the castle nuts on either side in our drag link. Right. And we can do the same thing on the other sides. Right, now we're just connected by the pitman arm there. Right, and everything should come out as one. Before we hop into the install, I wanted to stop down and give you guys a comparison on our factory system sitting next to our Steinjager crossover system and tell you guys a little bit more about the benefits that you're gonna get out of this over your factory steering setup. Now, right off the bat, when we take a look at our factory linkage, this is going to consist of your drag link as well as your tie rod, and it is gonna have a junction in the middle. This is also gonna come with the steering stabilizer connected to your drag link. The factory steering setup is going to be perfect for that stock application and if you have no to very little lift on your Wrangler. However, if you do lift your Jeep, it can put some extra wear and tear on the steering itself as well as the ball joints. And you can even see on our factory linkage that the boots are ripped and they're leaking and just not going to give us the best performance, and that's what we want, and that's exactly what the Steinjager option is going to give us. Now, the actual construction of this, your factory tie rod is going to be roughly 3/4 of an inch, and then your factory drag link is going to be 7/8 of an inch roughly. And then when we move over to the Steinjager system, you can tell that that is going to be a lot beefier. Now, this is going to be made of a 1.5 inch DOM steel tubing, and that's going to be able to take a lot more abuse on the trail, resist any bending or braking. Now, you're also getting 3/4 inch chromoly end links, and those are going to be incredibly stronger than our factory ball joints. Not to mention, you're also getting a Heim joint in there, which is going to give you some more articulation when it comes to the trail. So not only is this going to be a lot more durable as a setup compared to our factory system, but this is going to separate the tie rod and the drag link, which is going to give you a little bit more of a responsive feel in your steering wheel, and it's also, again, going to give you that extra articulation that you may want on the trail. I would also like to mention that as the Steinjager option sits right out of the box, it will not accept the factory steering stabilizer. Now, you don't necessarily need to mount it up. Steinjager has one of their Jeeps without a steering stabilizer, but if you would like to mount up your factory steering stabilizer or another one, they also do make a very affordable bracket that you can purchase separately. So enough about these two sitting on the table. Let's go ahead and put our new one together. What we can start to do now is attach our end links as well as our jam nuts to the ends of our drag link as well as our tie rod. So what I am going to do first is just thread on the jam nut. And then we can thread this into either end. So what I am gonna do is just add a little bit of anti-seize, and this is just going to allow it to free up if we ever have to adjust this in the future. I'm gonna thread this in. And then I'm not actually gonna tighten down the jam nut just yet. I wanna get it on the Jeep and get everything pre-aligned, and then we can tighten it down. We can do the same for the other side. So before we can install our kit, we do need to drill out both of our knuckles as well as our pitman arm to 5/8 of an inch in order to fit our hardware. Now this is going to be roughly 1/2 of an inch already. So what I'm going to do is start the top with a step bit, and then we can finish it out with a 5/8 inch drill bit. Last but not least, we can drill out our pitman arm. Now you can remove this and put it in a vise and drill it out that way. However, if you don't want to do that because it is a little bit difficult to get this off, what we can do is just drill it out while it's attached to our steering box. What we can do first is attach our drag link. Now we're going to start up at the pitman arm, making sure that the bend is facing the knuckle and not up at the top here. We can take our provided bolt and washer, put that through our drag link here. So now we can attach our drag link to our pitman arm, making sure that the bolt and both of the washers are facing the correct direction. We can put this through and secure it down with the nut. Now we'll be able to tighten everything in just a second. We want to get everything secured first. Now we can head over to the knuckle while still holding the drag link. We can secure this in the knuckle. What we can do next is attach one side of our tie rod. All right. We can secure that, provided nut. All right, and then head to the other side to secure the other side of our tie rod, making sure that the bends are facing out. Now that everything's bolted up, what I would recommend to do is give your Jeep a pre-alignment. What I did was just measured out the factory settings for the drag link and the tie rod and match them with our new components. Now I would like to call out that this is not going to be double adjustable. You will not be able to adjust the tie rod or the drag link while it's mounted up to your Wrangler. You will have to disconnect one side and then adjust it thereafter. So what I'm going to do now, since I have already pre-aligned it, is just tighten down the jam nuts with an adjustable wrench. What we can do now is tighten up our bolts. I'm going to be using that same adjustable wrench, but also a 24mm socket. Now we can tighten up the drag link at the top, at the pitman arm. Right, now we can torque these down to spec. So our last step is just to torque everything down. I'm gonna torque down this to factory specs. The tie rod is going to be 65 foot-pounds, and then our drag link up at the pitman arm, that is going to be 55. All right. So that's gonna wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe, and for more videos and products like this, always keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.